on this episode of Southern Fried Geekery.
Hey, Craig, what trailer do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about 50 Shades Freed.
Oh, shit.
Fuck me.
1, 2, 3.
We don't want us texting.
We all had we were all sitting here doing this, and I was like, okay, like everybody's getting their final text on. You all ready to do this?
Yeah.
All right. Hey guys, welcome to the 6th episode of the Southern Fried Geekery podcast. I'm Caleb.
I'm Craig.
And I'm Sean.
And we've got a really cool episode planned for all of us today, I think. I'm pretty excited to talk about some of the things we're going to talk about. But first, how was your week?
Good. Working.
Yeah, just typical work week.
Yeah, just doing
got
things.
some reading done, got some working done, got some video game playing done. It's a good week.
I got a whole lot of reading done, a whole lot of school stuff done, and no video games as per my norm because it just doesn't fit in. I really want to play this Monster Hunter game you guys are talking about, though.
Yeah, I didn't get a lot done productively because of Monster Hunter. Although I did finally read my books this morning before recording today, so that's always great.
I mean, I feel like productivity is subjective. So, don't feel too bad. Well, so if you haven't had a chance to listen to episode 5 yet, you absolutely should. We had some great comics talk. Got to go on there and just dish about some of the stuff that we're really enjoying. Went over there and dished about some books that we've read in the past that we're all really, really digging. If you like what we heard, and we certainly hope you have, please jump on iTunes, jump on wherever you find our podcast at, and if it's available, leave us a review. We really appreciate it. It lets us know how we're doing. It also lets those places know that we're getting listeners, and so that they'll help promote us on their feeds. They'll move us up, and we get kind of a more expansive reach.
Yeah, it affects our algorithms, which affects our potential listener base, which just gives us more people that will listen to us.
I don't know how technology works. I assume there's like a giant Keebler elf tree somewhere in iTunes land with a guy that sees our name with numbers beside it and he moves it up on the branch.
It's either Keebler elves or Force. It's those two are Elven Magic or Force. Those
are the Ewoks the Force Keebler elves? Is that what they are? Cannibalistic, force-fed Keebler elves.
Cannibalistic.
They were Star Wars. They were savage teddy bears.
That's canon. That's canon now. We're going to make that happen. But yeah, so if you've liked the last few episodes we put out, go give us a review. We really appreciate it. It helps out a lot. And it's a lot of fun reading what you guys have to say about us. So, shout-outs for the week. Craig, anybody want to give a thank you to?
Yeah, I'm going to give a shout-out to Chris Isham, my cousin.
Very cool.
I can't say on the podcast that he's my favorite cousin, but I can say he's my favorite cousin listening to the podcast. So far he's listened to all of them. He gives me a lot of feedback and just appreciate the support, Chris.
I'm giving a shout out to a local convention that I'll be attending with my art. Is Not Just Another Comic-Con. Will be this weekend here in Arkansas for those who are listening local. It's the second show they've ever done. It's a growing convention. Had a lot of fun last year. We got a lot of horror movie guests coming in, which I'm pretty excited about. And, of course, there's always this local dealers, artists, myself included. Be debuting a new cosplay.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Not gonna say what, but I'll probably share some pictures maybe to one of our social sites for the podcast as well as my own.
You want to drop a hint? Let people start guessing. Start an internet drama room.
Okay. Let me say. Let's just say that's why I'm the champ.
So you're Muhammad Ali.
Yes. That was my perfect Muhammad Ali impression.
Yeah,
it was a terrible impression of who I am cosplaying as well, because I'm not Canadian. Another hint.
This convention, you will also have a chance to meet all three of us at, because we are all helping our buddy out, Larry, who manages and runs this convention. He actually funds it himself and all of that stuff. So we're helping him out, and we will all be there in some capacity, whether we're like Sean at a table, or I think I'm working the entrance, taking your money. So I'm not sure what Caleb's doing. Bouncing, maybe?
I'll be there at some point. I have to work this weekend, but I am going to help out where I can. I'll definitely be there all day Sunday. I should be there for the most part on Saturday. I usually get off work in the afternoon sometimes, and I'm going to run straight over there. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think Craig and I, and hopefully Sean, I don't know what Sean's schedule's like, but I think we're all doing a podcast panel on Sunday around 3 o'clock.
Yeah, you didn't know that, Sean.
News to Sean, who is a part of this podcast.
You are. It was a group text, and I didn't realize you weren't a part of it.
Yeah, thanks, Caleb.
I'll blame Larry. No, Larry sent the group text.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to blame him.
He didn't include me in it either.
I'm sure
so it was just a group text with me and Larry.
I'm sure I can get somebody to watch my table while I do that.
Yeah, so we're going to give, he asked us to give a, and this literally just happened like yesterday or the day before, so it's my bad.
Assholes.
But we are going to be doing a podcast panel, even though we are new. I think he wants to talk about what it's like setting up, and possibly because we're new, some of the struggles that we've had technical difficulties with, what it was like.
Microphones,
knocking them over, and weird vibrations.
How many already?
Well, we are on our third.
Right.
It's a struggle bus, but I think it's been a lot of fun, and I think we're finally going to get to a point where we have lots of the stuff worked out, and then everything is just weird internet technology stuff that I have to figure out. But there's also going to be a lot of voice actors from some shows that anybody out there in cartoon land, or was that last year?
That was last year.
Okay.
I think this year is more focusing on the horror aspect.
Oh, very cool.
I mean, I'm going blank on names because I don't do my homework, and I didn't think I was even going to be on the show until last night. But the actress who was in Friday the 13th Part 8, she was the psychic girl who took on Jason Voorhees.
Really?
Yeah, she will be there, and not only was that Part 8 cool because that was definitely a different take on that, but that was a debut of Kane Hodder.
Yeah,
right.
So, who is the iconic Jason portrayer?
Which is weird that he's iconic at episode 8.
Yeah,
episode 8.
Well,
he becomes the iconic one.
Well, he's become iconic because he's the only one that ever repeatedly played Jason.
Yeah, because up to that point you had like varying size.
Oh yeah,
muscle mass, height, all of it.
Yeah. He bulked up, shrunk down, all kinds of stuff until Hodder, at least through until Jason X, and then they moved on to another guy, much to most fans, including myself, disappointment.
So, yeah, if you happen to be in Little Rock or the metro area or, in the surrounding places that you can drive, it's called Not Another Comic-Con. Camp Not Another Comic-Con, I think, this year because it's a horror theme. It's going on Friday. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
Just Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah,
so 17th and 18th.
Yeah, 17th and 18th out at the Holiday Inn by the
airport.
The Bill and Hillary Clinton Airport. So
right across the freeway.
Easily Googleable, easily findable, blah, 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 blah. But it should be a lot of fun. There's going to be vendors there. There's going to be comics, toys, random people.
And it's your chance to help out a local person trying to get a new convention in this area started. And that's always an interesting thing. We've kind of lost a couple over the past couple of years, so it's nice to see new ones getting started.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Well, I want to give a shout out, and it's kind of a generic shout out, but I want to give a shout out to all the people who have subscribed to our show. We are regularly, I think at this point we have 23 or 24 regular listeners. We've had several people who have, I think we're up to almost 80 people have listened to our first episode, which is awesome. We also have one listener in South Africa, which I am amazed by. I was expecting, a lot of our friends to listen to the show in Arkansas, and they do. We've got listeners in California, Washington, Oregon. We've got listeners in New Jersey, New York. We've got listeners in Texas and Kansas, all across the South, which probably because our name, they see that. And, I'm scared of what they think the show is going to be. But
boy, do we have them fooled.
Yeah.
I'm excited to disappoint them.
But we also, I found out, because of our Libsyn tracker, we have a listener in South Africa, which is dope to me. I never imagined that someone across in any of the big ponds would listen to our show.
Is it Wakanda? Please tell me it's Wakanda.
No, it's in North Africa.
Oh, I didn't know they knew where Wakanda was.
This is South Africa, so, the president's going to give a brief on that.
Okay.
At some point. Sorry.
Woo!
We went there. But, guys, we really appreciate all of you that have subscribed and who have listened to our first 5 episodes, and we really hope you enjoyed this one as well. It's been about a week since the last time we all gathered around the table. Actually, I think a little over a week now, almost 9 days. And there has been a metric shit ton of news.
A plethora.
Yeah, just copious amounts of things that have happened in Geekland. And so we're going to talk about some of them. And I'm going to let Craig kick us off because he looks like a newsman sometimes.
So, Star Wars this week. First, we got the Han Solo trailer, which was exciting, and we'll talk about that here in a minute a little bit more in depth. Outside of that, Disney announced that they're going to have a new series of Star Wars films written and produced by the people that brought the Game of Thrones to television.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, they're going to be bringing it to Star Wars. A lot of people concerned about, are they going to go R-rated with Star Wars now? But, my thing is that Star Wars has always had incest and people getting hands cut off. And, I mean, this is just...
Perfect for Game of Thrones.
perfect fit.
Also in Star Wars news, they have announced a few Star Wars series that are going to be taking place on the new Disney direct-to-consumer streaming app. I don't know what that means, but I figure they're trying to replace the void that's going to be left by Rebels.
Right, leaving Netflix
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
of all
so,
of that.
If you're a Star Wars hater, get ready to be overwhelmed. For us Star Wars fans, it appears to be the golden age of Star Wars.
These are the droids you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some news I'm actually excited about is a little-known comic book that I'm a big fan of, and the character may be known if you're a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. It's Usagi Yojimbo, which, if anyone doesn't know what that means Rabbit Bodyguard. It's a comic produced by Dark Horse, written, drawn by Stan Sakai. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it before in an older episode, but it has recently been optioned to be a TV series.
Sweet.
It's going to be produced by Sakai himself, a French studio called Gaumont. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, but I've tried.
It is
It's close enough.
Gaumont, yeah. Dark Horse Entertainment and James Wan's Atomic Monster.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
They're saying that, from what I read on the brief article, there's not a lot of information out there yet, though they seem to know what Usagi is. It is a cartoon rabbit, it's a cartoon animal story, but it's also a samurai story.
It's feudal Japan.
It's feudal Japan.
Yeah.
They take a lot of nods from Japanese mythology, history, and even movies. We see everything from Lone Wolf and Cub to Zatoichi the Blind Swordsman in these series.
Lone Wolf and Cub is so good.
Oh, it's fantastic. And they did, actually, because they're animals, it's Lone Goat and Kid in this series.
Yes.
It's amazing. And it's exactly that story.
So just because I'm actually familiar with Atomic Monster, so they're an animation studio. So this is an animated series, not a live action series, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I would imagine so. Honestly, I was doing my research and didn't look up Atomic Monster. So. But I assumed they were going to go CG, if not traditional animation, which would be fantastic. And what I've been thinking about is just like, if it sounds like, since they're working with Sakai himself and Dark Horse, who've been publishing it for decades. Yeah. I have high hopes for this. I'm really hoping. I mean, this could, with Usagi, the way it is written, it has its humor, it has its action, it has its mature storylines. This could be, and I know this is like, you always compare it to the big thing, and it may not ever live up to the hype. But for me, at least, I believe this could be Avatar: The Last Airbender level quality of a show, because the book is still going on, but it's already been going well since like the 80s.
And the great thing about this book, which I did, is you can actually go back and get like large collected volumes of it.
Absolutely.
That are in trade paperback. They're easy to read, but it's large trade paperbacks. It's like, I want to say like probably 3 times the size of what you would consider a normal trade paperback. I think they contain like 25 issues each or something.
Roughly. It's they're each volume is basically like an omnibus. It's a large collection because, like I said, the story's been going on a long time. So they got a lot of material to work with. I'm super excited about the idea of it.
I am as well, especially if it is an all-animated film. And Craig actually mentioned one earlier, Star Wars Rebels, which is an all-animated film series on Netflix.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a Usagi Yojimbo series done the way Rebels is? That's in like just break everything because it's amazing.
The only news that would make me even giddier about this, if Gennady Tartakovsky, which I'm sure I just brutalized his name from Samurai Jack and Powerpuff Girls, if he's directing it, it would just be an amazing show.
That style animation would be great.
His speed of his animation, the way he choreographs fighting and storytelling, I think would be amazing for the show. But I'm excited.
It is only option at this point, but we're crossing our fingers hard because I want to see this. And I'm not even as big of a Usagi fan as you guys. I just know them tangentially, but this is going to be awesome. Like, you give me samurai animals, I mean, that aren't turtles sometimes.
Though the turtles made several appearances throughout the years.
It is. Well, another bit of news. I'm going to keep saying like 5,000 times just so
Okay.
I have to edit this
Edit a lot.
goddamn thing like 9 hours.
Caught the Craig bug.
Jesus. So there is a creator that I'm a big fan of that I follow online. I've read a lot of his books. His name is Marz. A lot of you may know him from his stint working with DC. He's worked with Marvel. He's worked with Dark Horse. He's the guy who created Kyle Rayner. He also wrote the Refrigerator Story.
The best story ever written, sir.
He also had an extended run on Witchblade with Top Cow. And so most people know Ron from his work as a writer, but he is also an editor. He serves as the editor-in-chief for a company called Ominous Press, which is a small press comic producer. And one of the projects he's working on right now, it's a graphic novel called Kicking Ice. He sent us an email about it, and he is super, super pumped. He thinks this thing is going to be really good. It's a story of two young girls, Bella and Sky, who dream of growing up to play professional women's ice hockey. The project has the complete cooperation of the National Women's Hockey League, which is awesome. Like, they've got an actual functioning women's hockey league back in this book. That's incredible.
Awesome.
It's going to be done by Stephanie Phillips and Lee Motor, and colors by Marissa Louise, being lettered by Troy Petrie. I'm not familiar with any of these people. I'm going to look them up. I just wanted to, he sent us an email, and anytime, we're a small podcast. We just started. We've only got 6 issues. When somebody like Ron Marz sends me an email, I'm going to jump up and down and get excited because that's huge. To promote something that's this awesome, to promote something that's geared towards young women in comics, towards encouraging sports, which I'm a big sports ball fan, even though I'm not a big hockey fan. It's still really cool. So I can't wait to see what comes out of this. And also, we get a chance to promote his small press, Ominous Press. Indie comics are the soul. They may not be the heart of the industry, but they're definitely the soul. So I'm really excited to see what his company produces. I'm really excited to see how he edits it.
I kind of think that indie comics are the future of the industry, to be honest. That may be a topic for another day.
In a big way.
I really think that indie comics are where the industry's headed. I think they're going to start taking a larger market share. As companies like Aftershock come up, Image continues to be the beast that it's become.
Yeah. Even though I don't consider Image indie. I think it's more creator-owned.
Well, but still, it's not one of the big two. I guess it's not
right.
DC or Marvel.
They get like a 10 or 15% market share or something like that.
Yeah, I mean they're certainly up there, but I mean I think we're going to start seeing a trend towards more creators going to these independent publishers or creator owned, so that they can keep the rights to their characters. Because the big thing right now is optioning your characters and getting that movie money.
Oh yeah, the indie scene has always been the hotbed of creativity. You know, a lot of them will move up and start working for the big companies, but like maybe because they don't feel like they can publish it themselves, their own ideas, maybe they eventually work them in. I mean, that was the whole basis of how Image got founded, was that these talented artists and the creators had their own ideas, but they didn't want Marvel to own them.
Yeah.
For the most part. I think they were all
were
Marvel employees,
the
right?
group of 7, I believe. 7 or 9.
Yeah.
All Marvel employees.
That jump ship from Marvel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, and now though with today's digital, almost anyone can be their own publisher.
Yeah.
You know, as long if you have a scanner, a deviant art page, you can put out your work. So indie comics, I think, are getting bigger and should be getting bigger. And you can get a lot of variety if you dig a little past the big 2.5 you want to count it.
Well, and it's really interesting how the dynamic of comics creators has kind of flipped for the longest time, even after the Image kickoff and everything. People went to smaller presses to get their start. They went to, that way you could say that I've published a comic. It might be with a lower tier comics publisher, but they can say I've published it. And you can take that and it's kind of your built-in resume. You know, you can say, hey, I can write comics, or you can show them you can write comics. And so they would jump in to do that. Now it's kind of flipped. Now a lot of people are getting their start at DC, and they're getting their start at Marvel. And then they're taking that, once they can say, hey, I produced comics, then they're jumping over to Image and getting bigger bonuses and sign-on bonuses and creator-owned stuff. Or they're going to Aftershock, or they're going to IDW, or they're going to the internet to do their own thing. And so it's really neat how, on the business side of comics, how that's flipped in the past, I'd say probably 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, it really has, because it used to be just the opposite, like you said. You take Eastman and Laird. The name of their publishing company was Mirage because there was no publishing company.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so the story here was they were friends. They sat down, they drew some turtles, and they said, let's make this, and they made it based off of, for those of you that don't know, Eastman and Laird were created the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And when they started, they lived down the street or something from each other. And in those first issues, both of them drew on every page. So one would draw a little bit, they'd hand the page to the other, and the other one would draw on it a little bit. Then they'd put the story together themselves. Well, they went to a place like, I'm going to say Kinko's. I don't know that it was Kinko's, but that's why they're all, the first 5 issues, I think, are magazine size.
Right.
Because they didn't have a publishing company, and it was Mirage because it wasn't a real publishing company. And they took these books and they took them to conventions and wherever they could, and a complete success story.
Yep.
Because if you can find an issue number 1 first print that's in good shape, you found yourself a little mint.
Yep.
Hold on to that sucker.
Or sell it and live like I wouldn't say a king, but like a vicar for at least 5 weeks.
I mean, I think number 1 first print is about a $10,000 or $15,000 book right now because they only did like whatever they could afford, and I want to say it was like 2,500 of them was all they published or all they printed in that first print. The problem there is that the second and third print look exactly the same, and the only difference is a little note that's erasable on the inside of the cover. So, yeah, there's a lot of first prints out there that are, I mean, people know to look for it now, but that's the only. I actually have a third print that I bought that I thought was a first print. Oh, man. And it's finally catching up to the amount of money that I paid for it.
Yeah, well, that's always good.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on with different news. I don't know, do either of you remember a little miniseries back in the day called V?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so V has been picked up for a movie. Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, and when I say V, I'm not talking about Vanetta, Sean's wife.
Vanetta's been picked up for a film, yes. Sean, we need to work out details later.
So, yeah, V was this TV miniseries in the 80s, and it starred Mark Singer and Freddy Krueger himself. Robert Englund got his, I won't say his start, but certainly name recognition from being in that. He didn't star in it, but he was in it quite a bit. Played one of the aliens that was actually helping the good guys, because apparently, Caleb was right last week. I really do love alien invasion stories.
It's a fact, man.
Factual.
So,
Greg hates Earth and really wants us to get like annihilated by creatures from the sun.
So the show revolved around a group of people that, fought back against invading aliens that showed up as benevolent aliens but were really consuming us as food. They tried to redo the show in the early 2000s. It just didn't work. But I am so excited about a potential movie and what they can do with it if they get it right.
That's always a fear when it comes to adaptations. But, and I'm going to talk about, we're talking about some stuff later that we can dive into that on. But I always kind of err on, I'm an eternal optimist. I'm not going to, oh no, they're absolutely going to ruin this. That's stupid. Like,
we'll wait till we get to the Silver talk
over here. Yeah.
Or the Venom talk. Ooh. We got it.
I quivered. So I've got a few other things of news.
Okay.
And I'm going to try to power through these just
Okay.
real quick.
Lay 'em
I'm
on
not
us.
trying to take too much time. Those of you who know me, and hopefully those of you who have listened to the show in the past, you know I'm a huge Conan fan. My wedding was blessed by Crom. The best things in life are to crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentation of the women. Conan series for TV is in development.
Oh.
I don't know who's doing it. I just saw a little blurb, and like my Twitter feed did that thing where I saw it and then went, like something happened and I went back to find it and couldn't. It's Googleable, but I'm going to have to find it later. I was just too happy, so I had to call my friends. So that's happening. There was a giant Marvel's Writers Summit this week before last, where basically all the writers and all the people who are going to be working on stuff for the next year, they get together, they get a big board, they talk about what they're doing, and they map out the Marvel Universe, and they kind of talk about what stories they're doing, which is kind of normal. That's not something that happens every creator, every big publisher does it every year that have these line-wide continuities. The big news here is that Christopher Priest was there. If you don't know who Christopher Priest is right now, he's writing Justice League. I personally think it's been really good. He wrote the quintessential Black Panther series. Black Panther is a movie fixing to come out. If you want to know where you need to read Black Panther and what is good, if you don't want to go all the way back to the original Stan Lee and Kirby stuff, I think is who it was, you need to go find, just Google Black Panther, Christopher Priest. It will pull it up, go to your local comic shop and order that run because it is the quintessential run. It is phenomenal. It is what made me love that character. Everything you need is in there. Jonathan Hickman was at this Marvel Writers Summit. Huh. Hickman, there's rumors, they have not said whether or not he's coming back. He might have just been showing up to have a few drinks with his buddies. Hickman hasn't been there in about 5 years, ever since he essentially crushed the Marvel Universe in the Secret Wars, in the event that led up to that, which was kind of their line-wide reboot for what it was. It wasn't really, but it was.
He dropped his bike and walked away.
Yeah, it was a mini reboot, but it was fantastic. He, other than Busick and Perez, he pinned one of my favorite Avengers runs, even though I have the complaint that he did it in 2 separate titles and you had to read them together. Also, Scotty Young is going to be writing something for Marvel, but they have not released what. Scotty Young is an amazing artist. He's an amazing writer. He's writing a book called I Hate Fairyland right now. You can get the variant titles, which is called Fuck Fairyland, and they're freaking beautiful. So I'm super excited about that. 2 more things. Bear with me. Sean, you like Rat Queens, right?
Absolutely.
Do you like cyberpunk stuff?
Hit or miss.
What if I told you that a cyberpunk version of the hit series Rat Queens is coming out?
I'm going to buy it anyway.
It's
apprehensive.
Yeah, it's done by Curtis Weed.
Yeah.
And he was talking about it on Twitter. So it's going to look cool. It's all the people from Rat Queens set in this like dystopian cyberpunk thing. They're riding a motorcycle. I'm excited about it. I think it's got a lot of potential. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
And this is where I wish our buddy Jerry had been able to join us this morning. One of Jerry's favorite books right now is a book called The Realm. Starting this week, there is a YouTube series starting up by artist Jeremy Hahn, where it's essentially a behind-the-scenes look. It's called The Realm Behind the Book. So it is almost a docu-series of him creating the book, him drawing, them figuring out how the things work. If you're interested in the process of writing and drawing comics, it's a really good way to see how they do what they do. And so I'm super excited about that, just from the intellectual side of me wants to know how these things happen. Also, Jeremy Hahn has a very soothing voice.
So I follow Jeremy Hahn on Facebook, and he just announced as well that the first trade, I think, or second trade's coming out, and so is a hardback collecting the first up to everything now with a soundtrack included. So yes, get the hardback if you can.
Yeah, if you've been reading The Realm, on the last page of all the issues, there is a band that they are friends with or something, that each issue has a website and a place where you can go and download the song for that issue, which is really cool. So it sounds like in the hardback they're putting out the entire.
That's the way it sounded. Check with your local comic book store, obviously, but that's the way it sounded from what I saw on social media. So if it is, that's very cool. It's a unique idea. And I know when we saw him last year at Comic Conway, he spoke about wanting to put together a soundtrack for The Realm. So I'm glad to see that it's headed that direction.
Awesome.
And that's something more and more creators are doing now, is they're making comics more interactive, more intramedia stuff, which is it's neat. It's something extra. And it's one of the reasons that I also like buying hardcovers. And if you're at home and you're not as big into the books as we are, and you're like, well, why would I spend all this money on hardcover? There's a cheaper, just kind of paperback version. The hardcover version is going to have stuff that the cheaper paperback version does not. It's going to have things like the soundtrack. You're going to get all the bonus covers. You're going to get art by other artists that you'll never see, just commissions and stuff that they've done. It's going to have interviews. It's going to have commentary. And that's why it's worth picking up the paperback if you're into the outlying elements of what it's like in comicdom. If you're interested in the writer and the artist's opinions, if you're interested in hearing music and in seeing other artists kind of work with these things. If you're not, go buy the trade paperback. That's fine.
But the hardback looks better on your shelf, too.
It's shelf porn. Shout out to Jason Wood, who I think coined that phrase, but I love some shelf porn.
Right.
There's nothing like a good leather hardback book up on a shelf. Just it's hot. So that's all the news I've got.
Yeah, I think that's it.
There was a lot more that went on this week, but
it was a big week in news.
It was big, and it was busy, and it was a little bit annoying.
Yeah.
But let's dig into the things that we're going to talk about for this episode. What do you think?
Yeah, I think let's go. Let's dig into some trailers that were released this week. We had the Super Bowl. And lots of new trailers came out. And lots of entertaining stuff on its way, I guess.
I had to cheer for the Eagles.
I'm sorry.
I
know that hurt.
I'm a Cowboys fan. The Eagles are our arch nemesis. Like, if the Cowboys obviously being Batman, Superman, and everything that's good in life, the Eagles they're the Riddler, because the Giants are definitely the Joker. But it was hard. But I also loathe the Patriots. And I hate Tom Brady. And I want Bill Belichick to fall out of a building and land on Tom Brady like a piano. So I had to cheer for the Eagles, and it hurt. So we are going to talk about some movie trailers that came out. and I did not mean to interrupt you.
That's great. I guess we should just dive in with the big one that's coming. Black Panther lands next week, guys.
Oh,
and there was a new trailer at the Super Bowl, so let's talk about Black Panther a little bit.
I can't wait. So I'll kick us off on this huge Marvel fan, huge Marvel film fan. When the Black Panther showed up, I believe it was in Civil War.
Yeah,
was the first time he popped up. It did something for that movie that just broadened the scope of what it was and what it meant. This new trailer looks phenomenal. They have done so much with Wakanda. They have done so much with the world. They have done so much with these elements about the royal family that I'm just giddy. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to go watch this movie. When that trailer opens, when you walk in and you see, what are his guards' names? I always forget those. You see these beautiful, beautiful ebony-skinned women with their giant spears, and they're just statuesque.
That's not where I thought he was going with it.
Giant spears?
Yes.
just statuesque, and you know that they're badass when you see them walk through the world, and you just get this metropolis in the mountains of Africa, of North Africa, I believe is where it's supposed to be. Wakanda's not a real place unless we're going to get Donald Trump to do an interview, and then it is.
It might be. We don't know.
I want it to be.
They stay hidden. They're hidden.
I can't wait. My favorite part of this is going to be that moment, and they show it in the trailer. They show it in one of the trailers before where they like get this man a shield, and a scruffy Cap walks out. And I am a big fan of Scruffy Cap.
Sorry, it was a B-roll.
Oh, was that in Infinity War?
That was Infinity War.
Did I just cross
Infinity
the streams?
War.
Cross the stream, bro.
Oh, slap my hand.
And you talked about sports ball. I'm so disappointed in you.
I've let Sean down on a Sunday morning.
So
on this episode.
Okay, so I really love this new trailer, and I'm going to get a little political here, which isn't me.
As much as maybe some of the rest of us.
By us,
in the spectrum, it goes Caleb, Craig, Sean, in that order of political. So I'm going to get a little political, because let me first say, there's a lot of beautiful things about this trailer, and I'm really, really excited about this movie. My favorite thing about this trailer is that it was the first Black Panther trailer that didn't feature the only two white men in it talking for the first half of the trailer.
Yep.
So they finally took the focus off of the two white men and put it on the African nation and on Black Panther where it should be. Because, not that it's a big deal to me, but when you only have two white people in the movie and you want to focus on those two for the first two trailers, it was a little weird.
Yeah, for those who may not know exactly what Craig is talking about, in the first trailer they put out, Smeagol and Frodo sat there and talked for like the first 5 minutes.
Sir, it's Bilbo and Smeagol.
Is it Bilbo?
Yeah, it is
Bilbo and Gollum. They are the Tolkien white guys for the movie.
Look, you have to be a certain height for me to want to ride that ride, so I just don't pay attention. So Bilbo and Smeagol are sitting there chatting through the whole thing, and a lot of people got upset by that.
I mean, I didn't really notice it until I actually sat back down today to rewatch the trailers at prepping for the show. And I thought, man, that's just a really weird thing they did in the first couple of trailers. I hadn't heard any controversy. I didn't know if there was any or not. But I personally picked up on it, which for me to pick up on it is a little kind of in your face. But moving beyond that, this new trailer was really good, guys. It showed everything I want to see in a Black Panther movie. And what I'm most excited about this movie is it seems to focus on being a superhero movie.
Yeah.
Instead of a comedy with superheroes in it, which I think Marvel is getting back to their roots of what Iron Man and the first Thor and some of the early movies were, which they were a superhero movie first with some levity to break the tension in the movie, as opposed to a comedy that has superheroes.
And if I can touch on that a little bit, because I know as much as a lot of people had complaints, they blame the success of Guardians of the Galaxy on the emphasis in the comedy, especially with Thor Ragnarok, for example. Personally, I think Thor Ragnarok was the fresh air for that series because, let's face facts, it took the third movie to finally make a really good Thor film. Because the first one, origin story, it's going to be a little slow, got to explain everything, and it was decent. Part 2, completely forgettable. I can't even tell you the main plot other than the
Elves.
Elves, yeah, elves and the second Hulk actor, whoever, David Banner, I believe was him, if I'm not mistaken. It's hard to remember that movie because it was completely forgettable. So they brought in Ragnarok.
No, that was
Bana.
that was Mark Ruffalo
Eric
at that
Bana.
point. Wasn't
Eric
it?
Bana was.
I was
the
meaning
first.
the villain was the guy who played him before
Oh,
Ruffalo
right,
in
yeah.
the Ang Lee Hulk. I was just trying to make a reference. I
Gotcha.
messed it up. They brought in more levity to make it a fun action mythology laced movie, and some people had issues with it. I get it. If that's not what you were wanting, I think it was a breath of fresh air for Thor. And I don't think we have that worry with Black Panther. I think they know they need to take it a little more serious, and so I don't think that's going to be a concern.
I think when it comes to the comical side of these things, well, I mean, number one, they're called comic books. They're like comedy is kind of inherent in a little bit of what it is. There have to be those moments. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but that is where they stem from. But I think it's all in delivery. So I'm kind of with you on that. I think that the Thor Ragnarok film was actually done very well. The comedy was paced the way I wanted it to be paced. It was delivered in a way that I thought it was funny. They missed some jokes, but when you do a certain number of jokes, you're going to miss some. They do that in every movie. Guardians 2 felt just forced. Like, it felt like somebody was making me listen to a shitty comedian that I didn't want to hear. Just minute after minute after minute after minute, thing after thing, and they forgot to include a plot with their 9,000 jokes. So this has more of a Captain America 2 feel for me. I think that it's going to have moments where you're going to kind of chuckle, but I think that they're going to keep you on the edge of your seat, and that's what this trailer did for me.
Well, being Black Panther, it should be more of a political thriller with a superhero in it, which is going to lend itself more to the Captain America series than it is to any other series, which is why you see Cap in the Infinity War trailer with his scruffy-looking...
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, because...
It's scruffy nerf herder looking self.
So that it makes sense that you have that tie-in between Cap and Black Panther, but Black Panther is going to excel in the fact that it is. Don't get me wrong; it's going to have jokes, and it's going to be great. I don't mind jokes in the movies. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that I feel like since Guardians of the Galaxy and Deadpool
and
Ant-Man, the success of those three movies, you see that they kind of drifted into this, we're going to be more funny, and that's okay. It works sometimes. It worked fine in Thor. It didn't work so well in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Again, but, moving back to Black Panther, it's just really, for me, that's what it's the first time in probably 3 or 4 years that I've been super excited about a Marvel movie. I'm kind of looking back and glad to be back to, hey, I'm excited about a Marvel movie again.
I'm excited for it because I know next to nothing about Black Panther, other than the basics.
Go read the Christopher Priest run. Like, see if you can find that. I don't have it, or I may get it for you. Because it needs to be read.
Well, I'll read it, and I guarantee Vanetta would read that.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for the movie because it's another Marvel movie. I get a lot of complaints. I'm not sure we're trying to get into a heavy debate on a lot of movies right now. In this particular episode, I don't necessarily agree with all your thoughts on Guardians 2, which is fine.
No,
right.
But
and please share those. That's we don't all have to link up. That's fine.
Well, yeah, I know. I think we'll save movie arguments for the special episode because, you know how I feel about movies, and we can talk all day about that. But right now, we're focused on Black Panther, a movie I am excited for. I am a little concerned about overhype. Maybe I feel like I'm not worried about it. It hasn't given me anything to fear. Just the marketing, the excitement that's online. It's like I just hope people are pumping it up for greater than it's going to be. I think it's going to be a good action film. I think it's going to be a great introduction to a character in a world we don't know. Even though we got his origin of sorts in Civil War, this is still going to be an origin film. And I worry, like, some people are going to think it's just going to be nonstop action hype and all that. And we're going to have to know about the world. So understand, I'm just asking people to understand.
Right.
You're going to have to learn about this world.
Yep.
So I don't want to hear everyone be super hype. I'm glad it's being made. It's a good character. It's a good diversity into the Marvel Universe that we need. I worry about a little more of the overlap, I guess is what I'm saying.
I think they did a really good job with the trailer, though, of showing you little blips of what that world looks like and what that world could be. And then the actual film is going to go in and give some introspection on it and kind of show you how all the mechanics of it work. It's one of my biggest things that I love about the Black Panther is also one of the things I love about Namor is the fact that they're not just heroes, but they're kings. And arguably, Panther is way more of a hero than Namor is. But they're also...
No argument.
They're also kings of... Yeah, Namor's not a hero. He's just amazing. And he is insane sometimes. But we're not talking about him. We're talking about Black Panther. But he's also a king. He's got subjects that he has to look over. He is a diplomat. He is on the world scale. And he's doing that with this nation that is arguably the most technologically advanced nation in the world in the Marvel Universe. And it's an African nation, which breaks best theme that they could have gone with. High-tech people wearing leopard print. Badass ninja warriors with those flattened out spears. Everything about this movie is geared towards being flashy and exciting and different.
And just like the little glimpses we've seen, I believe, are of the different kingdoms that are within Wakanda. It's advanced technology, but you can see they're still keeping like the tribal roots. They show that leader with the huge disc in his lip, which is like this traditional African culture
plates.
That they're still representing it there, even with the advanced technology.
And I think this is something that Vanetta, just knowing her, would enjoy. All the actors in that film kept their natural hair, and that is huge. That like I don't want to be that guy's like, well, my black friend, but I have a couple of friends. I have lots of friends who are African American. And that is something that they really, really did hit on when I was talking to them about this. And when we do our special later this month, we are going to do a Black History Month / Black Panther special where we basically get some folks of color in the room and sit down and we chit-chat with them and we get their feel about where blackness and fandom is today and what they thought about the movie and what they think about all of these kind of broader, overreaching things that dive into Geekland. So look forward to that. But that was cool to me to know that they all just, there wasn't any like whitening of their hair.
And just for clarification, for those who may not know us or, personally and everything, yes, Vanetta is my wife. She is African American and she keeps her hair natural. I'm very proud of that. So just a little more clarification than Caleb's statement. Yeah. She loves Black Panther as well. She's needs to read a bit more of the book, I think so.
She needs to read Christopher Priest's
apparently. And I just want to make a side note. If there's not a deleted scene when it's Michael B. Jordan, right? That's Killmonger. If there's not a deleted scene in the movie when him and I can't think of T'Challa's actor's name are doing a fight scene and he doesn't call him sweat from a baboon's balls, I'm gonna be highly disappointed.
I want
Coming to America. Had to throw that in there.
I want him to make a joke about being Johnny Storm somewhere.
Right.
I really want him to be like, it'd be better if you were on fire or something.
I can't help it. I love Coming to America so much. When I saw the fighting, I just immediately had Arsenio Hall calling
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy, thank you. You sweat from a baboon's balls.
I just realized, both of the characters that played Johnny Storm in other places are now back in the Marvel U.
They are.
As different people.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four is forever a curse at a Dune franchise, Dalton. If you actually listen. I don't know if he does.
Yeah, I certainly wasn't meaning to derail the conversation from Black Panther at all.
Man,
it's, again, it's everything that I've wanted in a Black Panther movie. I think we're going to get without, as Sean said, being overhyped about it, because you do have to stay grounded in the fact that there is going to be some explanation as to what this world is. One of those things that this world is, where they got their vast amount of wealth, and I hope this remains in the movie, or they put it in the movie like it is in the comic books, but vibranium is only found on the entire planet in Wakanda. For those of you that don't know, vibranium is the metal used in Captain America's shield, and that's why it's so hard to make more. So I hope they leave that in there, because it's what is this giant power struggle for this nation.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure if it wasn't in one of the first trailers, like how you mentioned, I think it's the guy who is called Claw, Cullum. He mentions about precious resources.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure that's why he's in Wakanda.
The Panther suit, I'm not sure if they said it in Civil War, the Panther suit is laced with vibranium as well.
Which it should be, because Black Panther suit is made out of vibranium. And the thing about vibranium that's a very unique metal is that it absorbs kinetic energy. So if a bullet hits it, it's not like Kevlar, where you still feel the impact of that bullet. It actually just hits it, it absorbs the energy, and the bullet drops, which is how Cap does things like fall from a 3-story building and land on it without hurting himself.
Take a straight shot from Thor's hammer.
Yeah, because it absorbs the energy from the attack. Now, if too much energy at once, it will cause damage, but for the most part, it will absorb most of it. So it's a fantastic little thing that Marvel has, and it's great that the only place you can get it is in this little giant metropolis type country.
Hidden nation state.
Yeah, nation state in Africa. And it's fantastic. It's just, I hope that's all in there. I'm sure it is.
Well, no, I don't think you derailed the conversation at all. Again, none of us have seen this film.
Yeah.
Everything that we have talked
All
about for the last
speculation.
15 minutes, all of this is derived from seeing 2, maybe 3 trailers that
Right.
we've seen, and having a little bit, not much, a little bit of background knowledge into who the Black Panther is and who the Wakandans are and everything. So that's what this trailer has done, and that's why it's an outstanding trailer, because it makes you speculate, it makes you ask these
Right.
questions, it makes you talk about this broader scope of the world, and that's amazing. Like, if you take out the Marvel element of this and it's just an Afro-punk geopolitical tale, that's still good.
Yeah.
Well,
That's still dope.
it's very similar to, as you said earlier, Captain America 2. It's a spy thriller on its own. If you take it out of the Marvel universe, it's a spy thriller. That's why it holds up and it's so repeatable to watch. I'm thinking that we're going to be in the same line with the Black Panther.
Indeed, we're going to get the struggle for power, because after his father died, I'm imagining this, like all assumption, pure speculation. With Michael B. Jordan's character, is like they want to take I guess it's T'Challa's family is the head kingdom with
Yes.
all the other kingdoms within Wakanda. And of course, when a king dies, which is often, if you watch Game of Thrones, everyone takes advantage of a drop in power. So you're gonna have that political intrigue of this battle for that Claw and him trying to come in there to get vibranium or working with whatever current
Killmonger.
government. Yeah, so
If I'm not mistaken, in the Black Panther universe in Wakandan Kingdom, when the king dies, it doesn't automatically go to their son. The son has to prove their worthiness through a series of events. And now I don't know if that's because they kind of already made him the king based on Civil War.
I'm not sure how that works. I know in the comics there has been something like that. For a long time, the mantle got handed down to T'Challa's sister,
Right.
who was the Black Panther. I mean, this is a mantle. It's not
Right.
It's not one of those situations to where if you're an angry person on the internet, you can say they made this character a woman. No, it's kind of like Iron Man's suit. Doesn't necessarily. I mean, it does matter who's driving it, but at the end of the day, it doesn't. All those things, like anybody can jump into a Ferrari, and as long as you have some sense of what you're doing, you can drive the fucking Ferrari. And so his sister took that role for a little bit too.
So the interesting thing about that is the fact that, yes, it's a mantle, but she actually became the ruler of Wakanda, was a version of the Black Panther, but he was still out there and still had the Black Panther powers. He had just stepped down from the throne and was thrown from the throne because he was too involved in world politics. So his sister took over the mantle of being the ruler of the nation and also became a Black Panther. So because when you get the Black Panther, it's not just the title of the king of that kingdom, it comes with superpowers. Right. He gets super strength and sight and all of these things that come with what a panther would be in a human form. It's embodied in him.
Right. Well, because it's funneled down through this hierarchy. It's a lot like Japanese lore, Sean, where the ancestry means a lot. My favorite movie is The Lion King, so I'm going to go there. That moment where Mufasa and Simba they're on the thing, and he's like, "Look at the stars, all of these kings." And like look to them to guide you, and in ways they do. There's a little bit of supernatural element to that. In a lot of ways, that's what Black Panther is. His ancestry gives him power. He can speak to the dead. That's one of his powers, and it's something I don't know that they've addressed in any type of the conversations about the film. It's something I'm kind of looking forward to. I hope they do. I hope they address the fact that he's a little bit of not a necromancer, but maybe a necro channeler.
Yeah.
He can speak. That's part of who the Black Panther is. Like he can not only hear his people that are alive and well, he also can hear the spirits of the Wakandans who have passed away, and that gives him a lot of strength.
Right. Well, you brought it up first, so I'm going to say this. Are you saying we're going to get a Simba talking to Mufasa moment in this movie, without James Earl Jones being a giant lion?
I think we need James Earl Jones.
Because Simba could also speak to the dead, apparently.
I want that. That's amazing.
So you're saying this is just Lion King all over again with super suits and badass guards?
No, it has elements of the Lion King, which the Lion King is based off of. An entire other
Hamlet.
Yeah,
I believe Hamlet.
The Lion King is based off that. But there are these tropes that are involved in these very regal, royal legacy stories that, it's literally Shakespeare.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
It's poetic AF.
I've had to give you a hard time. You brought up Lion King. We'll talk about Black Panther.
I want to do a Lion King episode.
We will totally do a Disney episode.
Yeah.
I love Disney.
Okay, well, Sean, why don't you dig into, so we all had this group talk about Black Panther, which comes out the 16th, I believe the 16th.
Next Thursday night is the previews.
So the 15th.
Yeah, I'll be there Thursday night watching.
I am going to try to be there Thursday night. I may be there Friday. I definitely want to see this movie soon because I will rip someone's spine out, Jax from Mortal Kombat style, if they ruin this movie for me.
Sub-Zero ripped out spines there. Jax ripped off their arms.
Oh, in the video game, Jax had that power where he could reach over and just suck the finish. It was like his finish him thing. I know it from the video games. So that was one of his finishers.
I think Caleb's wrong.
I have no idea.
In my world, it did.
Okay.
Fight me. If you don't like it, come on this show. But so we each had kind of prepared talks about and other individual trailers that we all want to talk about. So I'm going to throw this over to Sean because I'm giddy about what he's going to talk about.
Well, the first one I was going to address because we wanted to kind of keep it to movies that were coming out this year because there are a ton of movies coming out this year that we're all excited about. So I'm going to briefly touch on the one that, as I was making sure doing my homework for this, found out it's not coming out this year after all, is New Mutants. Oh, I cannot wait for this movie. It did get delayed to 2019, apparently. It's going to be the first. Now, there have been horror comic book movies, but this is a super team, at least in the origins of their comics. These are superheroes in a horror movie. And without getting into too much detail, because honestly, based on the trailer, we got kids in a psych ward that are discovering their mutant powers.
Yeah.
And they're doing the Demon Bear saga, if you're familiar with the old 80s New Mutants run.
Was that Bill Sienkiewicz?
I can never say his name. I wasn't going to.
Yeah,
yes, it was his era of it. And it's been a long time since I've read it, but I remember really enjoying it, and I can't wait for that movie. So, the one I'm going to talk about is a movie that is coming out this year.
Which is tangentially related.
Is DeadPool 2. Looks like the trailer is showing the gloriousness of how they're doing Cable. I'm super happy with, I'm going blank on the actor's name. Josh Brolin. His portrayal looks awesome. Even just a little nod of he has a teddy bear. Which, that was a recent, as far as Cable's lineage, addition to just the nods to that. Yeah. And of course the trailer, full of fourth wall, typical Deadpool humor, very hilarious. But then we got montage clips from just showing the action, showing the scenes. And one of the ones that I didn't even catch when I watched it, but I saw a breakdown of it, was there's a quick shot of this Deadpool. You can clearly see Domino in a helicopter, and there's a bunch of people with him. And someone actually paused it, and there's an unknown character, but he's played by Terry Crews, and that's just amazing. There's a guy with I going by the picture, it thought in my head, and then whoever wrote the article, I'm sorry, I'm not giving you credit for your article.
Not because he can't, he just doesn't want to.
Yeah, and because I can't. Because I didn't care enough to remember your name. If you don't like it, come on the podcast and fight me about it and talk about journalism and comic books. But what I'm saying, as I say, there was a guy in the background with a headgear that made me think immediately, and the article confirmed it's Shatterstar.
Really?
Nice. It's supposed to be, at least their source is saying that and it looked like his old school headgear. Nice. I was like, is that Shatterstar? I read the article. It's supposed to be Shatterstar. As well as some other characters as well that, honestly, at the top of my head, I don't remember because I saw Shatterstar. And I'm a New Mutants into X-Force guy.
That's amazing. So, yeah, I didn't know Shatterstar was going to be in this. I'm really excited about it.
It looks like they're kind of doing an X-Force grouping now with Domino, Cable, Deadpool in the group.
I hope for me personally, if Shatterstar's in it, I hope Richter's in there somewhere.
Hey, you never know. Richter could show up. He's a classic New Mutant. A lot of people I don't know if they even know that anymore. But it's looking good. They're having more with Blind Al in there. It's like she's going to be in there again, and that's just a great dynamic. They captured it perfectly from that era of the Deadpool comics in the first movie.
And this is a movie I am not going to be upset about having too much comedy.
No.
Deadpool, that's what Deadpool
delivery.
is.
Well,
yes.
Well, and the reality is this. Everyone knows and loves Deadpool right now. He's a super popular character. But if you've ever actually read a New Mutants 98 that you bought off the shelf for cover price like I did,
you can't see me right now. I'm flipping Sean off.
Deadpool did not start off as the Deadpool you know now.
No.
He was 90s LaField written humor, like supposedly a quick wit. And if you go back and read him, he's not funny. He was supposed to be, but it was just not well done.
I think he was meant to be deranged more than funny.
It just seemed like he was punching out a lot of one-liners that just fell but it was like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying 90s in a derogatory term. I was 90s when I started reading comics, but I can go back and admit that this was just like those I'm a badass, edgy 90s one-liners, not the ones you think of nowadays. Is all I was saying.
Well, and nothing against Mr. Liefeld, and
unless you're angry about this and come on the podcast and fight us.
And people have problems, including myself. I think his interiors are okay. I don't necessarily like his covers. That's a whole different conversation. He did the design of Deadpool. He absolutely deserves that. He gets full credit for the design of that. Me personally, I think Fabian Nicieza had more to do with building the genetics and the dynamic of who that person was as a character.
Well, I mean, originally he was a ninja. That's what he was.
He was an assassin with as I said, with a sharp tongue. So like I said, I'm not trying to take away from his origins.
No, for sure.
But it wasn't until the early 2000s when a team of people, I did not know we were discussing Deadpool this deeply, so I didn't look up any of this information. But it was a new run where they brought him in and they really just addressed that.
Way on that. Daniel Way, I think, wrote that.
When the movie comes out, we'll discuss it deeper and we'll all do our homework. Like good podcast.
Yeah, just jumping back over to. Well, no, I mean we were just talking about the trailer though, so we're getting out into a whole other side of this.
But yeah, and that's when he became the Deadpool we know now in the movies.
Right.
And the movie looks amazing. If you enjoyed the first one, they're keeping it R-rated even with the potential Marvel purchasing all Fox rights.
Well, they should.
So I'm excited.
I loved the first film. It was a thing of beauty. I sat down and watched the trailer again last night. I had seen it before, but I wanted to watch it again. If that trailer is any indication of this movie, it is going to be, you're going to be in stitches. This movie, the trailer itself deserves an award of some type of award. It's funny as hell. Like you're getting into it and like they're being very serious, and Brolin and / Cable has got a green arm through this first 3 seconds of the thing, and they're like, wait, and Ryan Reynolds comes in and just perfect. He's like, what the fuck is this? Like, he's like his arm is metal, you dipshits. And so he pauses and he's got a city made of cardboard and dolls, and he's playing out a scene while they fix it. That's fourth wall breaking amazing.
Even better was the jab at Justice League. He's like, green arm? Really? It's just a middle arm. It's not like we're trying to erase a mustache.
So the thing about Ryan Reynolds is it's a complete labor of love for him.
Absolutely.
He loves this character.
You can tell.
He was so mad at the way they portrayed it in Wolverine Origins.
I don't know. That movie doesn't exist. I don't know what you're talking about.
Whichever movie that was that no longer exists in Sean's mind.
Does not exist.
Yeah, so he was so mad about that he fought to have this Deadpool movie redone, recreated, and now, of course, with the amazing success of the first one, we're just getting to see Ryan Reynolds really rolling into this character. And honestly, I see him playing this character for the next 10, 15 years.
I hope so.
Because he's that good at it. I mean, he really is. He is Deadpool.
Indeed.
And so, and you're getting other characters. I know Sean mentioned Domino. We talked about Cable, which, by the way, if you're not a fan of Domino, we need to have a conversation because you should be, because Nina is just fun.
Weirdest mutant power ever.
Yeah, just probabilities. Luck. Yeah, probabilities and luck. It's incredible. But I was really, really happy to see the return of the Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Oh, yeah. I really liked that little smart mouth Sinead O'Connor of an actress in the first one. I think she's got an interesting power set. And they picked a great actress for more so just a plot device, but I was glad they put her in the trailer because I didn't know that she was coming back.
Yeah, and she was good. And I'm perfectly fine with it. I'm not wholly familiar with the character, but I just know a little bit of background information. As a New Mutants fan, I have to say it. Originally, her powers in the movie are not her powers in the comic.
No, they changed some stuff.
Because they gave her another character who was originally was written in the movie, and that was Cannonball from New Mutants. Yep. But they didn't feel having I think he's from Kentucky, a Southern boy. They felt there was not enough humor in that with Deadpool. I don't know if I agree with that, but the end result was fantastic.
Well,
so they gave her Cannonball's propulsion and explosion powers.
And who doesn't love Cannonball? So
Cannonball. Well, he'll be in New Mutants next year in 2019.
I think that there was already a plan to use Cannonball in something else, so they wanted to save him for that. Like I said, she's used as a plot device,
right? And
so they were like, "This would work really well here. We can change it," because they didn't give her the powers of flight that Cannonball has, but they also didn't make her invulnerable, but they just made her blow up, and it kind of worked with what the name was,
right?
And it worked really well. It also doesn't hurt in a movie that's got that much crass humor. It's got dick jokes, everything. To have a young female in there somewhere just to add to the makeup of the cast.
Right.
Like that was a really smart choice. And, I think if that was a situation that had been done differently, and when it originally came out, there was a few of those people on the internet, force diversity, man, and it just worked out. Shut up. Shut up and watch the damn movie.
I assure you, my only complaint is being a New Mutants fanboy, and Cannonball wasn't in that movie.
Well,
That's all.
we can throw it back to the original X-Men film where they had one of my favorite characters, Rogue, but she was essentially Jubilee. Like it was Anna Paquin, who should not have been in that role anyway, playing a character named Rogue that had every aspect of Jubilee. That was just stupid.
So I want to see a movie with Dazzler in it
Mm-hmm.
and Blade, and the three of them team up to go kill vampires because Dazzler has light powers.
Yeah,
That would be amazing.
So I think there was actually a comic that centered around Deadpool and Dazzler going back in time.
Yeah,
And killing vampires. It was really amazing, and I would love to see that. Because Dazzler doesn't get any love now that
She
there's no
doesn't.
longer
Disco's dead.
disco out there. No one cares.
She has been using some good things. She was in A-Force, and that was a really good run. If you didn't read A-Force, you should. It was a really fun.
Moon Knight. She was in Moon Knight. Well,
Yeah.
she was referenced in the new Moon Knight book when his daughter is talking about superheroes, and he's like, "Who do you like?" And she's like, "Dazzler." It was kind of great.
So, Sean, not last question. You can talk about it all you want. But the last question from me in regarding this trailer. In this trailer, you see Domino.
Yeah.
But you also see the love interest / girlfriend from the first movie who it hinted at being copycat.
Right.
Do you think that they're going to go down that storyline in this movie?
Honestly, I don't think so. Because I'll be perfectly honest, as much as I did read back in those days, I completely forgot that was even a thing.
Yeah.
I forgot that Domino and New Mutants 98 was technically copycat.
Yep.
I highly doubt it. But, you never know. They may actually pull in because, like I said, Ryan Reynolds is being let's say, love project from him. He may pull out something like that. That's maybe obscure just to me, but maybe obscure to other people. So it may be something they want to address. Maybe Domino shows up because she finally found her, and they were going to reveal that she did pose as her at some point or something. So, entirely possible.
I think it's a good storyline to keep in their pocket if they're not going to.
All right. Well, I'm going to throw a curveball at my buddies here, and I'm going to talk about a movie that's at the theater right now. And I'm looking at it, and it's got an 11% score on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think is way too low. And that movie is 50 Shades of Freed.
Oh, God. Why?
I'm just kidding.
Hold up.
No.
You know why that's not funny, Craig? Because my wife just watched the first two this week.
My husband's read all the books.
So, yeah.
Damn you, Craig.
We're not fooling anybody. We're going to talk about Star Wars because it's me. And the new Solo trailer dropped this week. You know, this is the anthology movie that literally no one asked for.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Can you? I want to put this at the front. So, hey, Craig, what trailer do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about 50 Shades Freed.
Oh, shit.
Fuck
Okay.
me.
Carry on. Sorry.
So, no, we're going to talk about Star Wars story, Solo, a Star Wars story. The young Han Solo movie, the anthology movie that literally no one in the fandom asked for. I mean, no one wanted this movie made except for Disney or Lucasfilm or whatever, as far as the fandom goes. And we'll get to that in a second. Mainly because they can only... I saw the look on your face. And
No, I was thinking. No, I'm thinking in my head. I don't know that I agree with that, which is fine.
I do.
I'm excited.
Okay.
We'll put it on tape.
All right, let me start over.
No,
with
go.
So-
We don't have to cut any of this out. This is good radio.
I don't know that it is. So, this trailer starts with
There's your bump.
Han Solo and a woman in a...
Hold on. There's the bump. This is good radio. I don't know that it is. That's the bumper.
Oh my
Okay,
God.
Craig, ye old Star Wars guru, he who has a full sleeve tattoo of Star Warsy things. Tell me about Solo and why nobody wants it.
We'll get to why no one wants it in a second. Okay, so the trailer starts off with Han Solo in a speeder with a woman, and they're apparently in a high-speed car chase, and narrates his resume in the background, about how cool he is, and this is all great. And then we see the Falcon, and it's real pristine, brand new condition, which is kind of cool, but, how can he destroy that far in such a short period of time, maybe we'll get
I
some
mean, you're
answers.
a father.
Yeah, but it's just him and Chewbacca.
I mean, I've got dogs. Chewbacca's kind of
Well,
dirty.
there is that. So.
Technically, Chewbacca can live for 400 years. Han Solo's his dog.
That's true.
This is probably his third dog by now.
So,
That's the saddest
Han Solo is
story
Chewbacca's dog. Yes. So then Woody Harrelson shows up, and whoever this character is, he's supposed to be some sort of mentor for Han Solo.
Yeah, and who cares? It's Woody Harrelson in a
Yeah.
film. Like, just,
So he shows up and he offers them an opportunity to be in his crew. Then finally we get to see what this whole trailer's about, and that's Danny Glover, Childish Gambino, in his space pimp costume as Lando Calrissian. And he really looks good. He looks like he's going to fill the part of Lando perfectly, which anybody that's ever seen him act or in anything knows that he's a hell of an actor.
Damn good casting.
Yeah. Then you get Solo saying, I thought we were in trouble there, but it's fine. We're all fine. And it's really kind of a throwback to A New Hope.
Yeah.
So you get through all of this. There's some action sequences. We see the Lucasfilm logo, and I have concerns for this movie.
I think
The trailer didn't sell me a whole lot on it. It sold me that it's going to be a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a good Star Wars movie. What I'm scared of is you can only screw up Han Solo. If you don't nail this character, you thought the backlash for what happened with Luke in The Last Jedi was bad.
Yeah.
If they screw up Han Solo's backstory, it's going to be a riot in the streets from Star Wars fans.
Well, and you can never please Star Wars fans anyway. So
Absolutely. And I don't want to just dwell on the negative, because I really am excited to see this movie, but I do have concerns because they have to hit this and resonate with the fans. They just have to. If he's anything other than a lovable scoundrel, they failed.
right.
That's the only thing you can make him. He's not a hero, guys.
No, he's a scam.
If you make him a hero in this movie, if you make him a young James T. Kirk, which is kind of what it looks like they're going with from the Star Trek reboot, that's what I'm scared of. He's not that guy. He doesn't develop into that guy until the end of Star Wars when he returns to save Luke.
Yeah, Han, even in that, Han is never a quote-unquote good guy.
No.
Han is only good by the proxy of the fact that the government that he actively avoids because he's a smuggler, he's a space pirate, is a bunch of shitheads in Darth Vader helmets and stuff like they're bad guys. That's the only way Han comes out looking good in that. If they had been a benevolent government, Han would have been a villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, not trying to harp too much because I'm excited for the movie. I do agree it was definitely an origin story no one asked for. But my concern is that when you take a character from when Han Solo debuted 1978, 77,
Yeah,
New Hope,
77.
and then you make a origin story 20, 30 years later, a lot of people can like skew their memory. Like they're remembering Han Solo as the hero at the end of the story. And we're going to get that Han Solo origin, not the, hey, I will shoot Greedo first. I will shoot Greedo first and not give a fuck about it. Han Solo. That's my concern, is that we're going to get the origin of the Han Solo at the end of the original trilogy, not at the beginning.
Yep, and I agree with that. I feel, and again, I haven't seen anything other than a minute and a half long trailer.
Indeed.
So I don't know what we're going to get. My concern is that we don't get that lovable scoundrel. He should be charismatic, but he should be flat out the guy that's going to rip you off.
Right.
He's going to be the guy that cheats at a game of sabacc and wins the Millennium Falcon from his best friend. That's who he is.
Yep.
That's the character they portrayed in the original trilogy. And if they don't do that, you stand a very big potential of screwing this character up.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I gave you the look when you said that nobody was asking for this movie. From my perspective, I don't know that it's true. I remember being a kid and seeing that one scene in, is it Empire? Where we meet Lando?
Yeah.
And they're talking about how he won the Millennium Falcon. And I even then, as a kid, I said, I would love to see that. Like, I would love that backstory. I want to know how Han met Chewie. I want to know the story of how Han got his hands on the Millennium Falcon, because we know that he won it in a game and he cheated his best friend. I want to see how Han's adventures in space being a smuggler, who he smuggled, what he smuggled, when he smuggled, how he got away with it. There is a story there that I want to see. Now, this trailer, I don't know if it shows me that.
Right.
I don't necessarily, from what I've seen, again, just in a trailer, I don't know that they got the right actor for this role. I did not feel very Han Solo-ish. And you know, nobody's Harrison Ford but Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
But he did not
Tough
have
shoes.
that. Yeah, it's a very, clown shoes. Very big shoes to fill. I just don't know that I got that in that trailer. Now, I'm with you. I loved it when they showed Childish Gambino rolling up in there in his space pimp suit, looking like a badass, because he is. And I want to know that story. How do you become the head honcho of Cloud City? Like, there are elements in that history that I definitely want to see, and I'm hoping that this gives us that.
I think if this movie does well, you're going to see the Lando backstory after what happens here. Because you don't go hire somebody like Childish Gambino and have him as a bit part, or not a bit part, but a
supporting role.
So, you don't hire Childish Gambino and put him in a supporting role
For one hit.
for one movie. You could have got anybody.
Oh, unless you're Marvel.
Right.
And you put him as James Spader being a villain.
Right.
Like I said, my thoughts on this is honestly though, you brought up a lot of points, especially you, Caleb, about because I never cared about the background of Han Solo. I thought he was a cool character, loved him growing up, but never thought about it. I thought we got enough. But you brought up a lot of interesting points about his history that we haven't seen, which concerns me. Like if this is not going to be at least a 2 or 3 movie, that's a lot to cover in a single movie with an origin story. So like a lot of people are fans, like I want to see the Kessel Run.
Yeah.
Which, to me, that always sounded like that was something that happened later after he already got the Millennium Falcon. My prediction is at the very end of the movie, they're going to be like, what was the gambling game they played?
Sabacc.
It's going to be literally them sitting down there, got away from the bad guys, going, hey, want to play some Sabacc? Like, we're not going to get the Kessel Run. We're not going to get him as a traitor. At the very end, we're not going to even see the game of how he wins the Millennium Falcon. This is going to be at the end of hey, man, we got some time to kill. How about some Sabacc? And the fans will be like, oh.
That would actually be a fantastic ending. In fact, I got a little bit of goosebumps.
Oh,
just saying that.
So Hollywood, if you're listening, I can make a Star Wars fanboy happy. I'm better than most of what you're doing now. Because the fans hate you. Hire me.
But then the fans will hate you.
So, with what's going on in the Star Wars news lately, with the news I talked about earlier, where there's a new series, it's not saying a trilogy, it's not saying a movie, it's saying a series of movies created by the Game of Thrones people.
Yeah.
I really feel like they're trying to make Star Wars into an MCU type universe where you have all these movies and that will come together for a new trilogy.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing that.
It's the new
Everybody's doing an expanded universe. DC's doing it because Marvel struck gold when they did that. But now you've got Star Wars trying to do that. The IDW things with you've got G.I. Joe, Realm Space Knight, all of that stuff. They're trying to do expanded movies. Universal Monsters tried to do that, and I think that's already fizzled out because the Mummy did not work out well. But that's the thing with these big conglomerate film studios, that they're all there's so few of them now that they're all kind of on the one track, and that is the downside. That is the downside of mergers like the Fox-Disney merger, is that there are less film studios putting out more content, and a lot of people are losing their jobs, and everything is getting funneled. Super happy that the Fantastic Four is back at home. I'm super happy that hopefully these other characters are coming back, like the X-Men and stuff, but a lot of people are losing their jobs, and now it's one less studio to produce something different, which we need a variety of things in the industry. Not to hijack your thread.
No, it's all good, because that's really where I was going with it. The one place they've been able to play right now with these anthology movies and not affect what they're currently doing with the new trilogy is that section between Revenge of the Sith and Star Wars, A New Hope. So they have that area where they're not going to go back and make movies there, except is like a trilogy or anything. They're going to go back there and they're going to play in it. They're going to show us little aspects of it. We're going to get a Obi-Wan Kenobi movie that takes place in that time frame. They've talked about it. Ewan McGregor's on board for it. So
I would love that.
Yeah, so which would be
That's
fantastic.
An origin I do want.
Yeah.
I want to know what he does in the desert for all those years.
Well, I think you're going to see some things. Maybe we'll finally get the return of Darth Maul, like they showed in Rebels. Maybe we'll have that fight scene. They're talking about a Boba Fett movie, which would be great if they took Jabba the Hutt and made him the gangster godfather and you have these people working for him, and it's very much a Godfather type movie, that would be fantastic. So there's a lot they can do in that time frame. I'm really hoping 2 movies, because of the feedback and the fan base reaction of about 30% of the fans, the Star Wars fans. I don't care what Rotten Tomatoes numbers say. About 30% of the fans are so upset about The Last Jedi. Come back and you could do a Luke Skywalker movie. Sebastian Stan says he would be glad to play Luke Skywalker, and he looks just like Mark Hamill as a teenager, or in his 20s, I mean. So you take Sebastian Stan, you can give us a Luke Skywalker movie that takes place after Return of the Jedi and before he even starts Apprentice, where he's out. Give us the Battle of Jakku, where he supposedly pulled Star Destroyers from the sky using the Force. Give us that.
I played that video game.
It's in a book that I just read, The Legend of Luke Skywalker. You don't know if it's true, any of the stories are true or not, but one of them is that he pulls the Star Destroyers from the sky using the Force.
I was thinking of The Force Awakens. I played that game, and your main character pulls, it just rips Star Destroyers out of the sky, and it's amazing. So all you have to do is push B.
Right. So one thing is that people were upset that we haven't ever seen Luke at the height of his power. Give us that movie. And people would love that. Give us a Snoke movie so people will shut up about his backstory.
No, don't give us a Snoke movie. Let them be mad. Just let them sit on it forever.
Get a comic book, make them read.
You don't.
Now, I'm fine for that too, but I do think I'm not mad at his role in the movie because I don't think it needs an explanation. But I would be very happy having a Snoke background.
Oh, I mean, more Star Wars stories. More Star Wars stories is not ever going to be a bad thing.
So where I think they're going is you have Rian Johnson's now going to start his new trilogy, and once the saga trilogy is over, the next year, you're going to have this new anthology trilogy that he's doing that is going to not directly affect the saga, but will interact with the saga. I think it's going to be based upon what happens with Broom Kid. I think there's a reason he put that scene in there at the end of the movie. So I think you're going to see them start exploring now into that era. I think the Game of Thrones people, that theirs is going to be in that era, and you're going to have Rian Johnson's taking place in that era, and you're going to have these other series that then are going to interact 10 years down the line when they come back and revisit the saga after this, and you have Rey and Finn and Poe and
well, you have to, or you're going to run into the 007 problem.
Yeah.
The thing is with film, it's not like print. It's not like comic books. It's not like novels. You can't just write the same character and make it stay the same for 50, 60 years.
Right.
You're going to run into the 007 problem, where you have 19 different actors over the last umpteen decades playing 007. And there's been some great ones, but I, for one, don't necessarily want another actor stepping in and trying to be Luke. I don't need a reboot. Right. I also don't think that it's such a niche role that I don't think you can have that. So I do think that they have to go another direction, and at some point we have to let these characters pass, and they have to become legend, and they have to become footnotes, or we can do young stories, or we can do those other things. But I'm glad that they're taking it a different direction, because the Force is expansive. Star Wars is expansive. There's other things going on, and I, for one, want to see the bigger, broader world, and I don't give a shit about Skywalkers anymore.
Well, so J.J. Abrams hinted on it when they started the new trilogy, and that was straight up that it's a goodbye to the old people.
Yeah.
To the old characters and an introduction to the new. So people forget that, but I could ramble on all day about Star Wars, but that's my thoughts on Solo. In as a fan, that's where I feel it is. So
the only thing I wanted to add in there, and it's just going back to the trailer, I got really excited because one of my biggest complaints from the past couple movies is that it's all been essentially humanoids, all human-based people. In this new trailer, you see Twi'leks, you see alien races, you see other robots, or droids, sorry, don't hate me. I mean the fucking robots, guys.
Right.
But you see that, and so I'm really excited because that's the part, to me, I love. And, the prequels get a lot of hate, but my favorite part of that was you got Kit Fisto, you got Ki-Adi-Mundi, you got Clo-Plo, you got all of these different races and different characters and different species that did all of these amazing things. And I think that they tried to do that in the last few movies with droids. I think that they tried to give us all of these different droids to make us fall in love with. I want to see Twi'leks. I want to see Wookiees. I want to see Ewoks. I want to see new characters. I want to see big, tall, cone-headed guys.
I agree. Give us some aliens. Give us more aliens in the Star Wars universe. They're there.
I think we're getting that in Solo because they were at least in the background.
Well, they don't need to just be relegated to background characters in casinos and bars. Give us a starring. I mean, you have Hera out there from Rebels. Give her. We could do a movie with Hera. And yeah, Caleb's pointing at my Ahsoka tattoo. Please, for the love of God, give us an Ahsoka movie. I mean, your fans want
You're
that.
stupid if you don't.
Absolutely.
For the love of God and everything good, give us that movie.
Yep.
Because everybody wants it. And now,
All
what
right,
do you
guys.
have for us?
So you went Marvel. You went Star Wars. I'm going a little bit of a different direction. I want to talk about a trailer that came out for a movie called I Kill Giants. I'm stunned. Like this blew my socks off because that's a phrase people say when they're 30. This movie looks so good. So it's from the producer of Harry Potter. So that should be the first thing. It's like, oh, this might be something. It's starring a young girl named Madison Wolfe as a character named Barbara. She's the main character. She's the character that the film centers around. And Miss Zoe Saldana as Miss Molly. Zoe Saldana is
Not playing angry alien woman.
not playing an angry alien woman with green skin. She's an amazing actress, but you probably best know her from the Guardians of the Galaxy series. She does play Gamora.
And Avatar.
And, oh, yeah, she was... I try to forget that movie was made.
And if I'm not mistaken, Uhura, right?
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Uhura. A really great actor. And she's playing one of the main supporting characters, so already super pumped for those two things just because those people are amazing. The film is directed by Anders Walter, who also directed the Oscar-winning short film Helium. If you've never seen that, I strongly encourage you to. It's not long at all. Really fun. It won an Oscar, which that doesn't have a lot of stake with some people. I mean, for crying out loud, Suicide Squad has an Oscar, but
Yes, they do.
this is actually worth an Oscar.
That's why I don't care about the Oscars anymore.
Amen.
The fact that you can say Suicide Squad.
Well, to be fair, and I hated that movie. Costumes and makeup was very good.
That was it. Well, it was basically. I think some people have said it was a music video. That was 2 hours long,
Basically.
and I don't disagree with that.
Didn't mean to hijack you.
Oh no, not at all. But yeah, I Kill Giants is based on the 2008 comic series. It was a graphic novel that was put out in issues. It's one of those situations where it is actually a graphic novel, but it did come out episodically. There were 7 issues. It's done by Joe Kelly and Ken Numera. It was collected in 2010. They also wrote the screenplay for the film, so that got me really, really on board with this. That I firmly believe that it's going to stay true, because that's something that I worry about when it comes to films that are adapted from comics, is that especially when they're not so well known, they're going to get so far away from the original subject matter that it's almost unrecognizable. The guys who wrote the book wrote the screenplay for the movie. That is dope. Now, I want to go ahead, because if anybody asks me questions about the comics, I have not read it. I do not know what this film is about other than from the trailer. I'm actually going to order the comic today, the collected edition, because I want to read it. I cannot wait. Because it's about a young girl who is very much a loner. She's kind of a weird kid. She's an outcast, like a lot of us were as youngsters. I've got 3 nieces, and you give me a film that centers around kind of a coming-of-age story of a young girl, I automatically get kind of like daddy mode, even though I'm an uncle. But just because this is something I can go see with those girls, and hopefully it extends a good message out to them. And I want them to be able to see those things, because we had that, I think, as boys. There was lots of that. I don't know that there was lots of that as girls. But she doesn't have a lot of friends. Her life is just kind of bleak and unfortunate. And so she escapes this by fighting monsters, or giants. They're both real and imagined. These are allegories for kind of the psychoanalytical trauma she has going on in her life. You don't really get a good sense from the trailer what her home life is like. But, she's kind of a funky kid. She wears little rabbit ears. She lives out in Space Cadet Land, which is, super dope. She lives in her imagination because kind of the real world sucks. We're comic book fans. We live in comic books because a lot of the times, I'm not saying comics necessarily have to be a form of escapism, but sometimes the real world sucks. And so we like to read these about benevolent heroes, or these interesting stories about talking animals, or space pirates. It's because that's what's fun. The trailer is visually stunning. It looks like the filmmakers did a great job with everything, including the CGI, because you get these shots of these giant monsters. are giants out in the woods, in the mist, coming up from the ocean, very kaiju-like. That is, I said that right? I made a reference.
Correct.
Some of them have kind of a Cthulhu feel sometimes, which, going back to your thing, I did like that one scene in Solo to where they're flying through space and you get the Cthulhu tentacle monster somewhere.
Yeah.
That was neat. These are allegories. You kind of get the sense of that. But the filmmakers do a really good job of blurring those lines. It reminded me a little bit of kind of maybe a dark version of Pete's Dragon. Where the monsters or the giants aren't cartoonized. They are they look real.
Don't you sit there and tell me that Pete's Dragon wasn't real. Don't you do it.
Pete's Dragon was absolutely real. But that's what it kind of feels like to me. It was a mix of Pete's Dragon mixed with something that maybe Guillermo del Toro came up with. But it just really did it hit me when I watched this trailer, because you can tell that there is this book had depth. This movie is going to have depth. This little girl, like, you're just rooting for her from the start. She, in the beginning of the trailer, she meets a friend who you don't really know anything about, but she's just like, you're kind of weird. Like, what? I'm going to go hang out with you a little bit and see what's going on. You can tell she's having some issues with her teachers and at school, but this little girl is convinced that these monsters are going to take over the world and no one will listen to her. Because, if a kid walked up to me right now and said, hey, there's giants in the woods and they're going to come crush us, I'd be like, little child, go away. I'm trying to record a podcast. But in this kid's world, that's reality. That's what it is. Like, these things are happening, and she has bridged the gap between where she's no longer necessarily functioning normally. And there's there's kind of a question of sanity there, but it's an adventure. So it doesn't get too deep in that, because it is just a really heartfelt, neat adventure. Done a different way, this could be the origin of Buffy. Like, if they didn't do it to where these were, obviously kind of imagined things, this could very much be in that vein where maybe these things are real and this is actually what it's like. And that's where I say in Buffy, it has absolutely nothing to do with vampires. But just that little female protagonist who's in there, and like a lot of people don't believe there's mystical things going on, and she runs in there to save the day. And she's the hero. In some way, she's a hero. Like I said, I haven't read the graphic novel. I think Jerry has. I think he has it.
I think he's mentioned it before.
Yeah, and like, he's preached it and has told me about how much he loves it. But I just can't wait to see this. I can't wait. I texted Roger last night at work after I saw it for the first time, because I was going to talk about a different trailer. I was actually going to talk about the Ant-Man trailer. I was all geared up to talk about that, because that was a fun little adventure-filled trailer full of some really cool stuff and Hello Kitty Pez dispensers and things. But I watched this trailer because it just happened to catch the corner of my eye when I was YouTubing trailers. And I was like, let me see what this is about. And just, holy shit. Like, this is... I texted Roger right away. Roger's my husband. And said, like, we need to go see this, and then we need to go take our girls to see this. Because they need to see this movie. I also texted my friend Mark Deal, who actually maybe on an episode sometime in the future, we've all got to talk about it, but he's kind of a Buffy expert. And I think that'd be a fun conversation to have. But, and just a super amazing guy. I volunteer with him with the van. But, he's got a granddaughter, and he's all about it. So I texted him and was like, well, that movie date. And he was like, yes, yes, we're doing this. Yes. So I can't wait. It hits theaters March 23rd. So we don't have that much longer to wait. There's just so much into this trailer, into what this movie is going to be, that has just got me giddy. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I mean, it sounds amazing. I admittedly didn't. You told us about the link. You said that's what you were going to talk about. And I did not watch that trailer. But you sold the hell out of me. Yeah, I'm about to check. I'm going to watch that trailer when we get done with this show.
So I saw the trailer at the theater with something. I don't remember what it was, but I went and rewatched it this morning after you had told me this is what you wanted to talk about. And it just looks like a fun kids movie. I mean, not necessarily geared towards kids, but in the vein of Harry Potter being a kids movie. It just feels like a fun kids movie. I mean, maybe in the line of like Goonies or something like that, where it's a kids adventure movie. That's what it feels like to me. But again, I didn't realize it had that much depth into. I thought they were literally fighting giants. I didn't know that they were they allegories, or
to me they felt like allegories. Okay. They may not be. That's what like I said, I haven't read the graphic novel. Okay. I also have only seen that one trailer. To me, they feel like allegories of a young girl's life. Yeah. But I don't know. They could be very real. They could be only, like I said, Pete's Dragon. Maybe she's the only one who can see them. Maybe she really is starting an invasion from Earth from space monsters, which means this is going to be
I
your
would
movie
love
of
it.
the year.
Space Giants.
But that is interesting, though. Like, if it is like the allegory, it immediately reminded me of Where the Wild Things Are.
Yeah.
Which, that was all, like, I didn't even, my wife had to explain it to me, and then it clicked. I've read that book since I was a child. We went and saw the movie in theaters, and she mentions that, like,
I didn't even think about that. That's absolutely the best reference for that.
like, that each monster represented the kid's, like, emotional
Max.
states, and Max's emotional states, what he was going through. And Sully, not Sully, that's Monster Inc., I think. Well, the main monster was like a lot of his just stubborn. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm watching, I'm like, yeah, this is it feels a lot deeper. And she's like, well, and
Because
Vanetta
it
in all
is.
her brilliance explained to me, like, really just spelled it out. I was like, holy shit, you're absolutely right.
Another one that people don't realize, Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
All of the characters in Winnie the Pooh are part of Christopher Robin's psychosis.
Right.
And who he makes, what makes him who he is.
And actually, if you want to go a little bit deeper into just like fan theory, they're actually the representation of the 7 deadly sins.
Well,
I've heard about that. Yeah.
if you want to get really dark, go watch a documentary on Christopher Robin's real life story.
Oh yeah.
That kid was famous from the time he was a little boy and hated every minute of it.
Right.
Quit talking to his dad over it. Died. His dad died with them not talking, and then his mom wouldn't talk to him. It's a sad story.
I forget what movie that was. Wasn't there a...
I haven't
Was it
seen
called
the
like
movie.
The Real Christopher Robin? I think it was
probably.
called.
something like that. Yeah, it's Googleable.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I just this looks so good. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to take the girls to see it. I can't wait to take Roger to see it. And when we're talking about Winnie the Pooh and Christopher Robin and the Wild Things, the difference in that story is where all these animals were like on board with them. This one, they're not. This little girl's going to kill fucking giants. And that's amazing. So, all right, guys, that's the trailers that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And I cannot. It's a great year for film.
It really
is.
No,
Like,
this
there's
is
some
gonna be
good
good.
stuff coming out.
there's some we're not even touching on. Venom, which was a bleh trailer to me. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Infinity Wars we touched on. I guess that comes out next year
Yeah, I
technically.
think it's 2019.
Yeah.
Maybe it's at the end of the year.
Maybe it's
I
at
don't
the end
know.
of
I'll
this
look it
year.
I think it's the summer.
Oh, is it? Okay, so Infinity Wars is hitting soon.
up. Ant-Man.
Ant-Man is hitting soon. We're entering into Phase 4 of the Marvel Universe.
We're getting Black Adam. Not Black Adam. We're getting Shazam. We're getting DC stuff.
DC.
I need DC to do a better job of to make me care.
Well, DC's either like really fantastic, like Wonder Woman, or really crap, like Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
So,
Infinity War, May 4th, 2018.
okay, so
May the 4th be with you.
All right.
So, you've got a lot of good movies coming out this year. DC hopefully starts hitting some. Marvel will continue to be good movies. They're good, to me, really good popcorn movies.
Yeah.
With the exception of a few that I really love. But don't get me wrong, I get excited about them. I want to see them, but I'm really excited about the ones that are coming up.
Yeah.
So, there's some good movies coming, guys.
I can't.
Yeah,
freaking wait.
geekdom is
It's going to be a great year.
Yeah,
The
I
geek-
said it earlier. It's golden age of
Yeah.
Star Wars. It's a golden age of geekdom for
Well,
movies right
I
now.
was going to say in television as well.
Yeah.
We're in the golden age of cinematography.
Yeah.
But so let's quit talking about things that we can watch and let's talk about some things that we can read.
Okay.
Some books came out this week that we all seem to have thoughts on. So let's jump into it. Craig, what you got?
Okay. Well, this isn't a book that came out this week, but
Okay.
I finished reading the story arc this week, and it's Jimmy's Bastards.
Oh,
So this is a book. It's published by Aftershock Comics, and it's written by Garth Ennis. If you don't know who Garth Ennis is,
change your life.
yeah,
Oh, yes.
find a Garth Ennis book and read it, because I don't care which one it is, you're going to be entertained.
We could literally do an entire episode of Garth Ennis.
I absolutely could.
I ate a sandwich with him one time.
Fantasy.
Russ Braun is the artist, and John Callis is doing the coloring on it. I hope I'm saying his name right. If I said it wrong, come on the show and fight us. So the first story arc just finished up, and this is a story about a James Bond type character, Jimmy. He started the first issue. He gets a new female partner.
A pleasure companion.
Yeah. Well, he would like her to be. She is way less impressed by him than he thinks that all women should be with him.
You meant like an actual partner, and I went to a different. Like, okay, I went to like how my husband
fellow
was
spy.
I went to how my husband was my partner before.
Yeah, so he gets this new female spy partner, and she is not impressed by his womanizing ways, and it goes on. They come across their first villain, and they look so much like him to the point that you almost think that he is a clone,
like a doppelganger type of character.
And anyway, so you get to the end of this, and there's this clone doppelganger type thing, and you're wondering what's going on. Well, as the story plays out, we find out that there's a whole group of hundreds of villains in this villain organization that are all literally Jimmy's bastard. He's a play off of the Roger Moore 007 stereotype where he sleeps with every woman he comes across, and he's had so many affairs that there's so many women or so many bastard children of his out there. They do some weird things where he's had some sex with some of his
Just
own
go
daughters.
for it. Just lay it on out there.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't want to jump in too much, but you mentioned this is a kind of a 007 story. It 100% is, but this is like Archer took 007 and made it weird and crazy, and then this is taking Archer to the next level.
Right.
Yeah, it's very much a satire of 007, but done as only Garth Ennis can do, and make it a real story, but satirical of the original content. So the villains lay it out, and they start bringing all these women out for him to see, and it turns out they're his daughters, and he has slept with every one of them. And he ends up laying on the floor, cuddled up with a puppy that he won't let go of. And so then the next scene, he's in a mental hospital with said puppy. The female lead can't get it away from him. When he tells her what's going on, she's like, "Can I see the puppy for a minute?" Because so in the mental hospital, they walk into a room, and there's a bunch of retired 007s in there, and they're all the ones from the movies. And there's a picture of Sean Connery masturbating. And then the next panel, he's humping Roger Moore's legs. I mean, it's just
as he should be.
It's bananas, and it's gorgeously drawn.
One of the other just great splash pages from the last issue of this first story arc was, and I cannot remember his partner's name. I'm sorry, I just can't. But she's in a plane. She's been captured by his children. She's in a plane. They're all dead except for one. Jumps out with the last parachute. So she, of course, in true James Bond fashion, is on this plane with no parachute. So she jumps out, gets the guy, shoots him in the head, and rides his body down to landing. And so the panel is just him without a head and her holding on with a machine gun in her hand. It's just great. I mean,
that's as Garth Ennis as fuck.
It really is. And if you're a fan of like Adult Swim type stuff, you're going to love this book. I'm not actively reading it. I read the first 2 issues. I have a friend who lives, I want to say, in Jersey. He's a friend through an online group. He actually owns the art from the first book.
Nice.
He's got the panel where Jimmy is sitting on the couch getting a blowjob. Like he's got that. He's got that original line art.
I mean, it's great. And so here's the thing: the trade comes out next week, guys. Ooh. So it worked out well. I just finished the arc. The trade comes out next week. Go to your local comic book store, pick this up, read it. You're gonna like it.
It's fun. If you're not easily offended, if sex jokes don't bother you,
you're watching. If you are all of those, you're listening to the wrong podcast.
Well, yes, but this does get a little bit more visual, I think, than some other things do. But that's just the glory of it. If you've liked books like Preacher, The Boys, other stuff Garth Ennis has done, if you like Archer, if you like Crossed, if you like Archer, if you've ever watched that show and you're like, if you ever found yourself sitting in a chair thinking, I wish Archer was a little more raunchy, this is gold for you.
Well, to give you an idea, Garth Ennis has visited this realm a couple of times with a story called Dicks.
Yeah.
Which is
From
about
Avatar.
space invading dick aliens.
I have those trades.
I have the last one, but yeah. You haven't read it. Sean's looking at me like I'm crazy. Yeah, they're aliens that are shaped like dick.
Him and an invasion story.
Clearly.
Go figure.
No, I'm only looking at you like that because you guys judge me for Savage Dragon. Which brings me to my book of the week.
Yeah, go on.
Do you like that segue?
Yeah, it's perfect.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Yeah, my book of the week is Savage Dragon, with the cover entitled "The Sinister Sex Dolls."
You've been talking about this for 3 weeks.
I did hype it accidentally and then intentionally, and now once again.
There was a little evil part of me that was hoping in the depths of my soul that you were going to read this and be let down.
Oh no, sir! No, sir. Not when within the first. Well, actually, the first few pages didn't really clarify. Into the story, just to get a shark lady busting through a wall trying to steal one of the baby dragons. Because as I haven't gotten into too much detail, there's a whole big story going on where there's 3 baby dragons from Malcolm Dragon, the son of the original dragon, having a 3-way in high school. But maybe we'll do a whole episode on Savage Dragon one day.
Like you do.
But when the actual sex dolls get into the story, it opens up with one of them with a client riding on top asking if he loves her. That's all she really says. And then says, sweet. Then you hear an ow, a snip sound effect as she's riding on top of him, cowgirl style. He screams in obvious pain. He is thrown out of a window. And she stands up and you see a bloody severed penis fall from between her legs.
Why do you read this book, Sean?
Because of everything I just said. And then steals his money. Because they're bad people.
Yes, you didn't need to know that she stole his money to know
If
that
you
she was
need me,
a
I'm
bad-
just going to be over here on the floor bed.
I just-
Like I said, I've always enjoyed the pulp and corniness of Savage Dragon, and now Eric Larson and all his brilliance has just turned it up to 11, and it's been amazing.
It looks it.
Story actually flips between like several ongoing stories between the sex doll characters. Like, and it's a long, rich history of characters are coming back in. And now we're actually dealing more into the multiverse. And like I said, spoilers, as always, when we talk about current reads. Just be warned. You get, like, Savage Dragon trying to deal with the sex doll assault, which then he finds out there's several, and he's just getting his ass kicked by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 anime-looking sex dolls beating the shit out of him. But the big story is going on, and that's just an issue happening in Canada. As it happens.
Just happening. That's what they do in Canada.
But the big thing is with 3 of his friends that are on three of his friends are currently in an alternate dimension, a Dimension X, which has been a big part of the story last few. That's how some characters return, because they're dealing with alternate realities now.
Right.
They've been held prisoner by the returning first girlfriend of the original Savage Dragon. Literally.
Is it Martha? It'd be great if it was Martha.
That would be amazing.
Oh, God.
Martha.
Crap.
Why did you say that name?
Sorry, this is going
Oh,
to be
I mean,
B-roll.
it's a moot point.
Well, no, I'm actually mad because I'm forgetting her superhero name, Rapture.
Okay.
She was the ex-prostitute with electricity powers that he brought into the superhero world. Got her out of being a prostitute, Craig. Don't giggle. Don't giggle.
They're called sex workers, Sean.
Whatever. Sex worker, prostitute. She has electricity powers, and this is but she did die a while back, and now they're in this alternate reality where these 3 women from the current reality are being held prisoner. She showed up last issue, revealing that she is in charge of finding sex slaves for this alien race who need to bang chicks, or they will go crazy. And the big end at the end of this was there was a traitor from a man covered up head to toe, comes in and saves them, is fighting Rapture. She gets knocked down, and at the very end it's revealed that we have a Malcolm Dragon, who is the current Savage Dragon from an alternate reality.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we're getting into some crazy shit. Yes. Savage Dragon, blood, guts, sex, and sex dolls ripping off penises.
Yeah.
If you're not subscribed to this, why aren't you? Go love yourself. It's fun. It's raunchy. It's just garbage comics, and it's in all the best ways possible.
See, I'd be safe in all this. You guys are screwed. I'm safe. Because those sex dolls are not doing anything.
Unless what happened in Jimmy's Bastards happens in that, where his villainous children put a chemical out that switches everybody's sexual.
Shit.
Turns all the women to men.
Y'all
All
did
the
this.
all the women
And
get penises, and all the
you'll
men
have to do the research on this, but there very well may be male sex dolls. I assume there is for anyone's needs.
I don't think there are, just because I've been keeping up with what's been going on with Savage Dragon, and he is not interested in that in any way, shape, or form.
But he will draw aliens with large penises, just so you know.
That is true. So my book of the week had significantly less sex than either one of y'all's. I'm going in a completely different direction.
Thank you for classing up the podcast.
I'm trying to do something different with what we got going on here. No, I'm just kidding. My book of the week is Versus by Ivan Brandon and Esad Ribic, colors by Nick Klein. This is a book that's published by Image Comics. It's the first issue came out this past week. So to kind of get you on board with what this story is about, if you've ever seen the movie Predators, the one that had the kid from that 70s show where they were all like basically dumped in space and they were having to fight, think of that mixed with the Hunger Games. Like, that's a good in-between thing. It's not nearly as childish as what the Hunger Games was, but so basically in space, on Earth, sometime in the future, you have this group of people who are gladiators. They're space gladiators, and they're film fighting. It's for entertainment. You know that there is an audience out there watching this, and they're essentially used as fodder. It's kind of a Mojo-verse kind of thing, honestly. And you get into these, you get right into the heart of the battle. You have these really, really cool outfitted, like gladiatorial looking people who jump in, and they've got high tech, like they're looking at sensors. You know that they're being tracked. They're trying to find where people are at. They're using little spy drones and stuff. And they're in battle with this other team. You get these little blips of what the moderators are telling the audience. And this is a fight, you would think, to the death, but you don't necessarily know that. So they get right into the battle, jumping in, and like your main character has got like robo arms going on. He's got like a backpack that's got other things. One team shoots purple lasers, the other team is shooting blue lasers. They're killing each other, and then all of a sudden, in the heart of the battle, alarms go off and people stop because one of the players, a character named Mama Martinez, got really pissed off that they paused the game right when she was going to kill, and she starts shooting at the camera drone. And so it stops. It's just like, hey, technical foul. Referees come out. They take her weapon away. They jump in and they kick her out. A new player comes in, and it kind of all starts again. Well, a lot of this stuff centers around this main character. So he takes back control of his team, and he's like, look, let's wait. The cameras are going to reboot. We're going to jump in here, and we're going to have a clean fight, and we're going to win this, and we're going to go home. And you would think that would be a good idea with the game plan, but all of a sudden he wakes up, and it's almost this. It seems like a flashback, but it may not be. His name is Lieutenant Flynn. It's almost this Matrix-like thing where they've got these people on shelves, and so you can't really tell in this book if it's a flashback or if this entire battle is a VR thing. If these people are plugged into these shelves and that they're being made to fight in this alternate reality where they can't actually have any physical harm, but they're kind of just slaves.
Avatars.
Avatars to be used. And like the doctor said the same thing, because Lieutenant Flynn wakes up, and you could tell he'd been shot before. He was very wounded. He wakes up and he's like I've got a clean bill of health. Let's just skip this day. And the doctor says, we all have our protocols, Lieutenant. I get demerits just like you if I don't do my job. Like, this is a slave culture that is being promulgated from the top down for the entertainment of the masses. And these people don't have a choice in what they're doing. And you get a little bit of that when you see the main characters, not the main characters, the bourgeoisie characters almost, and they got these little pink haircuts. They're kind of funky, and they're just kind of fat and sassy, and they're just wondering. They walk their hero into this celebration, Lieutenant Flynn, and they're all chatting for him, and he's a broken man in real life, and he stands up, and that's a thing. Like, apparently they're not used to him being able to do that, or he's gotten so broken in the past, and that's where I say that I'm not technically sure if this is a flashback scene or a flash forward scene, or if it's a split. That is one thing I wish the bookmakers had done a better job of telling. But story-wise, I'm definitely going to stay on this because I want to see what happens. I want to know, because they plug him back in. and he jumps back into the game in his awesome mech suit, and he rains down hell. This dude goes on a murder spree. It is phenomenal. I mean, you can see this stuff right here. He's got everything from his laser blaster to a Bowie knife, where he's just slicing up this other gladiator-style team, stabbing him in the neck, and he's doing all this while there's alarms going off saying, "Warning!" Like you're like stop, like game pause, and he's just like no, like he's going for it. He's breaking all the rules, and he gets his own penalty, kind of like the character from earlier did. But he's actually murdered this person, and when all the medics and everything come into this game, where they're doing this game, he's just sitting on top of his body. And he said, "I guess it's victory for Flynn and the surviving Industrial Guard. More to come. We'll be right back after these messages." And then it gives you a shot of the second issue. It's just badass. Esad Ribic, like, even if the story does not turn out to be much good as far as the narrative goes, which I don't think it will be, it's got a lot of elements of things I like. It's very sci-fi. But even if the story is not what you want it to be, Esad Ribic's art is gorgeous.
Yeah,
like,
it's
this is just stunning. And if you don't know who Esad Ribic is, go do a little bit of research. Just Google him. He worked with Jason Aaron on some of the Thor stuff. I want to say he worked with Hickman on the Secret War, like the lead up to Secret War, some of the Avengers stuff.
It looks very familiar to me.
It's stunning. It absolutely. It's hyper violent. It's a little like
so it went from hypersexuality
to hyper violence.
There was violence in my book,
but it's almost a culmination of everything within pop culture that we like. Yeah. It's video game esque. It's got some social strata narrative. It's a little bit geopolitical. It's a little bit class based. It's a little bit just gonna guns a-blazing fuck you up style. Drawn gorgeously and just stunning. The women in this book they're not grotesquely drawn. They're not, and not that. So Savage Dragon, everybody's got jumbo boobs, and it's very 90s. These are very anatomically correct, but I mean they're also in bikinis. They're also in little almost Playboy bunny outfits. You've got space age cars. It's very futuristic. I mean, there's a spread in here that shows this city where it's kind of, Speed Racer Go, where there's like loop-de-loops and stuff happening, but all the buildings look like they could also be spaceships that could dock and depart. It's just there's so much world building in Esad Ribic's art that I truly hope that this continues, and it takes you from that and then jumps you right back into the action. You get the boom boom boom. You go back into the game. This fight for your life, fight for points. It's got a little bit of a Fifth Element vibe, honestly, in the outside world. So yeah, Fifth Elements versus Predator meets the Predator in this space age thing with blue people drawn by Esad Ribic. And space gladiators and everything else. Like this book, you need to go to your comic shop and pick it up.
Well, it is on my pull list. I just didn't get a chance to read it yet.
Yeah, I strongly encourage you. There's no real big twist at the end. They didn't end it with a cliffhanger. They just kind of let you know what's happening next. Yeah. I mean, the cliffhanger is what's going to happen to him. Right. Is he going to get... Are there punitive actions that are going to be taken against him because he didn't stop at the warnings? Like he ignored the game masters. He brutally and savagely disemboweled one of the gladiators from the opposite team. But honestly, you could read this. I read this issue, and I'm going to pick up issue 2, but I don't necessarily... Like if I didn't read it, I wouldn't feel in any way disappointed. Like I got a complete thing right here that just plugged me into this universe just long enough. It made me very, very happy. Awesome. I might try to buy one of the pages from this book.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I mean it's beautiful.
It looks like very good art.
Yeah, Esad Ribic is a master among men. He's one of the best artists out here today, and can do anything. It's just. And, kudos to the colorist as well, to Nick Klein. Because Nick Klein he's not a colorist by trade. The final page of the issue did this thing. Sean, I believe you talked about it when we spoke about last week, your Hungry Ghost book.
Oh, yeah.
There was a letter. There was a letter from the editor saying about how these people met up and how they got into it. And this kind of explains the process of how this comic came to be from Ivan Brandon's point of view. And he speaks about all of the people who worked on this book and how it was a labor of love over several years because he and Asad's schedule never meshed up. and then finally it did. And where I was going with this, Nick Klein is not a colorist by trade, but from what I see in this book, he might be one of the best. Like this is Jordi Belair level work. It's just, this book is going to sell. Like this book has been getting a lot of hype. I was actually surprised because it snuck up on me. I'm usually pretty plugged in about stuff that's coming down the pipeline that's going to have a big impact and is going to get people really excited. This was a sleeper for me. Yeah. This was not on my pull list. This was sitting up by the counter at Kapow Comics over in Sherwood, and I picked it up and was flipping through it, and just my jaw hit the counter because I love it when that happens, because sometimes that's the bad part about being so plugged into the geek world, is that we see everything coming, and I'm on Twitter and Instagram and everything, and these artists that I follow post their stuff. They, this is my WIP, my work in progress, and this is all the stuff coming down. And so by the time the book gets out, you know what it's going to be. I'd never seen any of this stuff before, and it was just, that was such a refreshing feeling for me. And it's a fun book. It's not in Marvel. It's not in DC. It's outside of that wheelhouse. Pick this book up.
Yeah,
you won't be disappointed.
Awesome.
All right.
And that's our comics of the week. Great. Like I'm gonna have to get the trade of that, and
I think I'll be picking that up too.
Yeah. And I found out, I saw Eric Larson tweeting something. They are actually going to be doing collected editions of Savage Dragon.
Oh, that's
They're
fantastic.
starting that back up, if I'm not mistaken.
Trade paperbacks.
Yeah, hopefully we're getting some trade, and I'll probably pick up the trade specifically for this arc.
I'll give it a shot from the beginning if he goes back.
I'll be honest. Like I always kind of say, it's just a grindhouse story. It's not too deep. To be honest, though, you have to read it from the beginning. There's so many throwbacks and callbacks to the characters that have come and gone, including because of the alternate universe. I honestly would say to pick it up at the beginning.
But this arc, like this arc starting here in the past arc, it seems to be something special in Savage Dragon, at least among collectors and stuff. I checked I looked at sales charts while I had like 5 free minutes this past week, and this past arc sales charts for Savage Dragon have peaked. There are a lot of other news, comic book news sites that are talking about it. There are a lot of other podcasts that I've been listening to for a long time who have not been long-time readers of Savage Dragon. The guys have jumped on for this arc. At least 3. I know the guys from 11 O'Clock Comics have really, really enjoyed it. The guys from Long Box Podcast have really, really enjoyed it. I want to say the guys from Comics Geek Speak have mentioned it once or twice as well. And so, and I've listened to those guys, all of those podcasts for a long time. They've never given 2 shits about Savage Dragon, and now it's all over the airwaves. So he's doing something really special here. Like this could be a cultural resurgence for this book almost.
It's Sean pimping it.
That's what it was.
It's all me.
Yeah.
To be fair, like I said, if it's getting more attention now, it's because it's probably, in my opinion, it's what makes sense because of the style of book it's always been.
Yeah.
He said, fuck it. I'm going to make the most R-rated, action, sex-filled story that he's always been writing, but he's always had to keep it within the guidelines. Couldn't show, it is bloody, but it never hasn't shown a severed penis falling out of a sex doll. And he's always drawn risque. As 90s as it got, even back then, he was still kind of pushing limits. Now he just said, fuck it. I'm making my own book. I'm doing what I want. And you got to respect that.
Definitely has taken the reins off. Well, again, man, great books. So let's get into the next and the last segment. This is the segment we like to call, mostly due to Sean, we like to call Getting Ahead of Ourselves.
Indeed.
So I want to get ahead of myself by saying the book that I'm most looking forward to next week. And these aren't necessarily the books we're going to talk about next week. They're just saying we see what's coming down the pipeline, and these are all going to be hit the shelves on Wednesday. I'm going to get ahead of myself by saying I'm interested in reading Marvel 2-in-1 number 3, written by Chip Zdarsky. This is kind of a return of the Fantastic Four-ish. Yeah. It's the Human Torch and the Thing, and they're going on an adventure. The first issue I absolutely loved. It's gorgeously drawn. It was really, really fun. It had the spirit right. The second issue I didn't love as much. Still gorgeously drawn, but it got a little Chip Zdarsky for me. He's a very comical writer. And the Fantastic Four book should be a comedy book, but there were some things that just, like, I need him to find a happy middle ground between 1 and 2.
Right.
That's what I want of that. I'm hoping we see it 3. If 3 is still that thing where he just kind of interjects random jokes that don't feel like they're timed right, or they just feel like they're just there, then I probably won't continue with this book. But I am very, very excited to read the 3rd issue.
So my book for next week is Cold War, another Aftershock Comics book, believe it or not. I mean, they just keep putting out these books, guys. And this one's Christopher Sabella and Hayden Sherman are the creators on it. And takes place in a cryogenics future where the frozen heads, you're brought back to life, you know, the whole Disney, Walt Disney thing and all. Well, so when they bring these people back to life, they're not handed keys to a new house and start your life over. They're handed a gun and signed up for an army and told that you're either going to go to war or we're going to kill you again. And you're going to fight our war in our battle that we want you to fight. And so it'll be interesting to see where that happens.
Yeah.
So it seems like my kind of book, and you know, I'm looking forward to it.
Sweet.
Awesome. Mine is actually the return of a series I'm a big fan of. Most of you have probably at least seen the movies if you haven't read the books, and I highly recommend reading the books because the movies honestly were pretty poor adaptations. Kick-Ass is coming back.
Nice.
Mark Millar, I believe it's Millar, and John Romita Jr. are both coming back to the book again. This time it is a whole new character donning the green and yellow spandex. So I'm not going to get into too much because when I looked at what's coming out this week, this is the only book I'm probably picking up. So
cool.
I'll talk about it more in depth. I'm super excited about it.
Awesome.
Well, guys, that wraps up things for us. Guys out there in Radio Land, we appreciate you taking the time to listen to us. We know that time is money, and the fact that you guys have offered to give us your ear for so long it's a blessing. Thank you so much. If you've liked what you heard, and we again hope you have, please do us the favor of going on to wherever you find us, particularly iTunes, and leaving a review. They've got a little thing where you can tell us the number of stars 1 through 5, and you can leave a little blurb on what you think about the show. It lets us know how we're doing. Yet again, it also helps extend our reach. It helps iTunes say, hey, here's something new and now and upcoming that other people might want to like. If you want to reach out to us on Twitter, you can. We're at SFG Podcast, all lowercase letters. If you want to email us any questions or concerns or just anything in general, suggestions, southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com. You guys got anything else you want to throw in there?
Yeah, I think we covered it.
Sounds good.
Fantastic. Guys, go forth and love some comics.